Hello chums, hello, it's me again. Yeah, I've got a tin of paint and I've got a paintbrush. So you know what I'm going to be doing today. Yes, I've got plenty of doors to paint today, and door frames. So I'm doing this as quick as I can. I woke up this morning to pictures of my son standing right on the edge of this thing called the horseshoe in the Grand Canyon. He really is right on the edge. It looks spectacular. He's also going to one of these caverns, and it's breathtaking. It's one of these places I've always wanted to go, the Grand Canyon. It's on my bucket list, but unfortunately my bucket list, I think it will just always have to be in the bucket list unless you know, I don't know, I win the lottery. But as I don't do the lottery, it still will be in the bucket list. But hey ho, I'm not jealous at all. Right, I'm going to talk today about it, just for something came in my head last night about the creative days. I don't know why. I don't know why. It just, in fact, it actually popped into my head just before I went to bed. I don't know why I thought about this. I know why I thought about it. It's just dawned on me. It's because of when I saw the Carters yesterday. Their thing says something like, I've forgotten already, but it mentioned, have we been creative? And that's why I thought about the creative days. So there you go. So blame them. And what people don't realise, if you're new to leaving the organisation, or if you're not have never been in the organisation, or you're in the organisation since the late 90s, what people don't realise is that the creative days was as in the Bible calls them, a creative day, was set in a certain time frame, and that time frame directly led to 1975. So all for those who wondered, how do we get to 1975? And I was around prior to 1975. I think 1973 we started going. It might have been the end of 72. I'm not too sure, but anyway, that's how you get to 1975. You get through 1975 by deciding that the creative days were a certain fixed period of time, and we believed that for years and years and years. I did discuss how when that changed, that's when I thought there's something not quite right here. And I'll go back to that, but I'll just go back to what they believed. So, in the Aid book, it clearly says that the creative days were 7,000 years long. And, there are fundamental Christians who believe it's a figurative day. So basically the whole world, everything was made in a week, which of course is complete bollocks. But to even then consider that the whole world was made on a 7,000 day period over 6 days is complete utter bollocks as well, because we know that the Earth's been around for millions of years, and some of the fossils have been around of animals millions of years. We know it's complete utter bollocks, but we flew in the face of science and said, oh no, science is wrong. The Earth has only been around for thousands of years instead of millions of years, and yet we believe that because obviously we believe these old fools and everything they told us to believe. And that led us to 1975. I'll just reiterate this point. I don't know where they got the belief in the 7,000 years. It was something to do with the scripture, which referred to, some sort of bit that they thought it's 7,000 years. But anyway, who knows where the time goes? That's funny. That's a good song. So, basically, as late as 1987, in a watchtower, and like enough, I've been believing it since 72, so that's 15 years at this point. Watchtower 87, 1 page 30, questions from readers. Second, a study of the fulfillment of Bible prophecy and of our location in the stream of time strongly indicates that each of the creative days, Genesis chapter 1, is 7,000 years long. It is understood that Christ's reign of 1,000 years will bring to a close God's 7,000 year rest day, the last day of the creative work. Based on this reason, the entire creative week would be 49,000 years long. Now this is really important, that bit there. That's what our belief was. We believed that basically God rested on the last of the creative days, which should have been 42,000 years, the last creation, and then there'd be the 6,000 years of man fanning about, mucking up the earth, and then the last 1,000 years is when Jesus comes in and sort of completes the creative works and brings the earth back to how it should have been after his 1,000-year reign. Do you see how this fits in? And that's the way it works. The 49,000 years reign, 49,000 years would conclude with Jesus handing a cleansed earth back to his Father and say, there you go, that's my 1,000-year reign over and done with, we're back. And that would complete the 49,000 years from the moment that God has made the earth to finishing it, and Jesus handing it back to him, so it's back in the state that he originally had it in 7,000 years before, if you get my drift. But that was the belief, and that belief was reiterated all over through the publications of that time. But the funny thing is, when you actually go into the Watchtower and you go into JW.org, you don't find this. It's it's a struggle to find anything which confirms that. In fact, the one thing that did come up in a Watchtower of 73, it does bring up 2/1, page 82 to 86, Watchtower 73. Since each of the creative days or periods was evidently 7,000 years long, the whole creative week takes in 49,000 years. So that's them, they repeat that in 73. It was in the A book, and bizarrely the A book reference doesn't come up when you put in length of creative days in jw.org. It's as though somehow the witnesses have tried to stop any linkage, but be referring back to the time they did really believe it was 7,000 years. It's as though they've on purposely stopped that word, that line, being able to find that link. Even though I believe they haven't changed the 8 book. I'm sure if I actually looked up the 8 book as it is in here, to actually find it. But when you go to cross-reference it, when you try to find it in the search bar, it doesn't come up. I hate to be a cynic, but I think that may have been done on purpose. Yes. So anyway, I've tried to. I quickly went in the search bar to try and find this, and basically, when you do the searches for creative days, that was the only link that came up. The one I've just given you from Watchtower 73, saying it's 7,000 years. Thank God somebody had actually done this on this thread. But there are a whole lot of more. Including the 8 book, of course, and even in the day's text that came out. Funny enough, it got changed. The first time this got changed was when you brought out those 2 green books. I don't know whether they were called Insight in the Scriptures, Volume 1 and Volume 2. They may have been. The first time that ever got changed without any fanfare or announcement or anything, it got changed in there. And they changed the text to say from 7,000 years to thousands of years. And then shortly afterwards, there was a day's text which then backtracked and actually said it was 7,000 years. So yeah, it was a bit confusing. It was a bit. I can't remember this. I was trying to find I tried to find what it was, but I found something here that literally says. It says Watchtower of Watchtower. 1993, CT chapter 6, don't know what it is, an ancient creation record, can you trust it? The fact is the Bible reveals that the creative days or ages encompasses thousands of years. So eventually that's what they're stuck with now. So since, really of the mid-90s, they've changed it. Watchtower 96, wonderful developments took place on Earth during the 6 creative days, each day covering thousands of years. So basically from the mid-90s, they changed the 7,000 years to thousands of years. And that absolutely stumbled me at the time. And the reason why it stumbled me is because obviously going into what I'd read before, because basically that's how you got to 1975. You got to 1975 because the Watchtower had accurately, I wouldn't even say accurately, but based on their own research, had realised that come the autumn, I think it was in 1975, that Adam, that would come to the 6,000th anniversary of Adam's creation. So that's what they figured out. So because they were going down the line of 7,000 creative days, and because they believed that the whole thing everything had to be done and dusted, including the 1,000-year reign of Jesus Christ, had to be done and dusted by the 49,000 years. That meant that the 1,000-year reign of Jesus Christ, beginning with Armageddon, had to start on the anniversary of the 6,000 year of Adam being created, the last creation. That is why in 1975 the Jehovah's Witnesses believed that Armageddon was going to come, because they'd already gone for the creative days being 7,000 years. That's where you get to 1975, boys and girls, just in case you wondered, where did 75 come from? That's where it came from, and that's what we believed. And then, of course, what these people who were inspired by Holy Spirit, these Spirit anointed ones, never realised in their total brilliance of their research of the scriptures that Adam was not the last creation. They slightly fucked up there and didn't think, oh shit, Adam wasn't the last creation, it was Eve. Eve was the last creation. Eve was the last thing that God made. Don't know why that slipped their minds, because funny enough, it's in the Bible. And so what happened afterwards? When Armageddon never came in 1975, and they were still believing in these 7,000 years time period, they had to then think why Armageddon never came. And they then released the following year, and it might have been in the yearbook or other stuff. Oh yeah, we've realised that Adam was not the last creation, it was actually Eve. And therefore, the saying after that with the witnesses, and this is absolutely true, the saying repeated time and time again, but I don't know whether it's in the publications, but it was definitely repeated from the platform, and it was circulated amongst all the witnesses, was that we were living in the time that it took Adam to name the animals, because we know Adam spent some time naming all the animals in the Garden of Eden before he finally dawned on him that he was unique, and that he wondered why he was getting a stiffy every morning, and how come all the rest of the animals were having fun in the sun and he wasn't having any. So, you know, he obviously asked God and said, what's the script here? And God says, you know, it's not good for the man to continue on his own. And therefore he created Eve. Eve was last creation. So we all believed, and this saying we said for years and years and years. So imagine from 1975 all through the end of the 70s, all through the 80s, that's another 10 years, we were then saying, and the early 90s, that we were living in the time period that it took Adam to name the animals. When they changed the thought in that 2-volume thing which came out in, I can't remember, was it the early 90s sometime, that's when I went, oops, hold on a second, what's going on here? And I spoke to a guy called Brian Lowe. Yeah, how low could you get this Brian with his, that's a whole new story. Oh, I've done that story, so I'm not going to do it again, but basically the guy was a bit of a bell end. And it was actually alright as a servant, but as soon as he turned into an elder, he just became a superfine apostle, let's put it that way. So I went up to Brother Lowe, who we still thought was actually a good guy at this point, and I went, look at this, Brian, what's the script here? The society now changed this to instead of 7,000 years, it's thousands of years, which totally changes the thought about Jesus Christ's 1,000-year reign completing the creative days on the 49,000th year. And he says, oh, well, the society can't do 7,000 years anymore. Says, why? He says, well, because, you know, they have to be careful, like solicitors and other people looking at it. A complete bullshit response. What do you mean solicitors are looking at their interpretation of scriptures? You know, what a lot of bollocks that was. Oh, we can't say Armageddon's coming anymore because solicitors are looking at, you know, and we can't state that anymore. Complete utter shite. So I thought I've got to go to the source, because obviously nobody, because it's sort of they sort of snuck this one in without any great fanfare. There wasn't a big thing. Oh well, you know, brothers, we've looked back and realised that it isn't 7,000 years, actually thousands of years. Science obviously shows that we've been talking bullshit for years, and obviously that's why we got to that erroneous 1975. Oh, silly us! And I wrote to the society and said, "What's the script? Are the creative days 7,000 years long? Do we still refer to the time that we're living in is as in the time that it took Adam to name the animals?" And the society did send me a letter back. I unfortunately gave that to a guy called Mike Howarth when I got this position, because I couldn't believe the bullshit I was reading. I just said to him, "What do you think about that?" Unfortunately, he kept the fucking letter. I wish I had that, because I'd love to be able to read out to you their response to me. But basically, it was just complete utter spin. It was just like, it's just like anything that you'd see a politician, you know, asking to get them to say yes or no, to actually define their point. And it was just complete spin. They just completely overlooked the question. You know, they never said, yes, we still must refer to that. They totally overlooked the things, and they reiterated what the new thought was, that the created days were thousands of years long, and asked me to do my own research. I mean, what? I've done my research. This is what I found. You've now changed the point and you're contradicting yourselves. I want you, as the authors of this, to contact your guys to say, what the fuck's going on? And so at that point, when I got that letter back, that was really the first time that literally the foundation of my faith started falling apart, because I knew there'd been a fundamental change. Nobody else had seen this apart from me, I thought, because nobody else was talking about this. I saw this as a fundamental change, and nobody else was talking about it. And that's when, for me, I was already, you know, on my way out. I was already out of here, because at that point my confidence and faith took a total battering. And then just a few years later we had the change of the generation, which was the final nail in that particular belief coffin. So that was that, and subsequently, you know the modern witness today has no concept about that. They used to believe that the creative days were a fixed time period, which is how you got to 1975. And there were other things built in. There was other things like Jubilee years and other things. I can remember that there was some sort of scriptural precedent, how that Jesus would have to, that his 1,000 years reign would have to fit into those 7,000 years. There was other things as well. It wasn't just that. And all of a sudden, the whole load of things just fell by the wayside, because the society at that point decided to just change their thoughts without even telling anybody. There was no watchtower, there was no rethinking, there was no new light and new shite, there was none of this. It all changed. And that saw me leaving, you know, saw me making my way to the exit, because I knew at that point, after getting that letter and seeing the way that they'd sort of, you know, manipulated a change without really announcing it, I just thought, no, this can't be right. And I knew that it probably wasn't the truth at that point. So there you go. So I just thought I'd leave you with that thought. I just thought, it just came to my mind last night, and I just thought I need to just discuss this, just for anybody who didn't know how he got to 1975, for anybody who wasn't even aware of this whole creative day, who wasn't aware of that, you know, excellent bit that I read earlier about how, you know, all fitted in with the 1,000-year reign of Jesus Christ, that, you know, concluding on the 49,000 years, just in case nobody knew that. And if you're a Jehovah's Witness watching this at the moment, you go and do your own research. Let's say that way. Just Google length of creative days, and you'll pick on this thread, a Jehovah's Witness. In fact, I'll actually put the link in the description actually, and you read that, and then you go and do your own research, and then try and figure out how come that, especially this one from the Watchtower 87, that never came up in the search that I did, and why doesn't the aid book search come like that? You know, you figure out for yourself. You know, I don't need to do that. I'm just a humble man of humble means. just trying to make my way in this world. But anyway, for anybody who wants to do further research, literally I just spent 10 minutes doing this. Yeah, you do it. But anyway, this is just another example of how the Jehovah's Witnesses change their beliefs, especially in relation to when Armageddon's coming, because it did lead to 75 and never came. The generation that died off, they never came. It comes to that, and I just wonder what the next thing's going to be, and how people are still buying it as complete utter bullshit. Anyway, see you. I've got things to do. I've got doors to paint and a toaster to pick up in Dumfries, and I probably might pass the Carters again. I'd love to actually park my car and get up to them and just say, hey guys, like the creative things. How long were the creative days? And just see if they go, oh, yeah, whatever. Bye bye.